Imagining the complex interactions that create our future is really difficult. That's why the 20th century could imagine futures of zeppelins and later flying cars, but miss out on something like Twitter. When we think about the future, we tend to imagine it being like the present, only more so. Here's a simplified history of technological progress, its rate accelerating exponentially. We're always a little behind the curve because our brains take a tangent from the present. From around now, there's a divergence, a future suffused with technology, and a future with next to no technology. I'll bet you can guess which is which. The title is silly, with the zombies and the robots, but our possible futures will cause us to confront assumptions about what it means to be human, and I mean to capture some of the sense of dismay and horror we'll feel in facing the future. The no-tech future will challenge our vision of humans as expressive and self-determined beings. We'll be focused on survival, in a world that's not as hospitable to surviving in, and most of the activities that define who we are in the developed world will simply not be options. This is the future in which the world doesn't let us keep innovating, and the vast system which we might describe as modernity collapses for a very long time. With all the easy fossil fuels extracted and the world's best farmland buried under urban and suburban development, there may actually be no way back up the ladder. The two biggest factors that could put an end to technology are the availability of fossil fuels and rising global temperatures. Our lives, from our economic system down to our groceries, depend on inexpensive oil. Rising temperatures will mean a crisis in the many cities near sea level, and changing weather patterns put the world's farmland in jeopardy. It's not like we won't be working to solve the problem, but there are a lot of priorities to invest in. More efficient technologies, disaster preparation and response, conflict to secure our access to fossil fuels, and alternative sources of energy will all compete for resources, so long as there are resources to invest. So, if all that doesn't work, a handful of things will fail quickly, like automobiles and the global supply chain. But there's not a ready replacement for globalization. There's not an easy way to step down a society dependent on advanced technology, and those bicycles won't last forever. Many of the proposed solutions for living in a lower-tech world, like small farm agriculture and local economies, are very effective at small scales, but the problem is not small. It's probably impossible for the world's population to convert to a pre-industrial lifestyle, and conflict is likely as many try to avoid hitting bottom by any means. The whole "the world can support only X people" has been said before, notably by that guy, Thomas Robert Malthus. It's common to say Malthus was wrong because technology has increased the number of people who can survive on Earth over and over. That could happen again, and I sincerely hope it does. Whew, that's a relief. So, we figured out a new energy source, and we've put all the carbon emissions on the moon, or something. Or maybe we used magic. Whatever. All that anxiety about the collapse of civilization goes the way of the fear of nuclear annihilation during the Cold War. Well, now what? A high-tech future, as you might guess, is a totally different can of worms. We'll have to confront our vision of humans as physically embodied beings and as individuals. Ourselves will expand into the things around us, and will be more and more entwined with the technology we create. This is the future in which our innovation proceeds more and more rapidly. Our tangential understanding of progress as a constant rate will fall further and further behind, and we'll turn to our technology to help us keep up. In this future, we're focused entirely on improving ourselves to stay connected within the improving world. People are already really attached to even these primitive devices, and it's changing the way we think. Increasingly, people can't imagine life before they were so heavily invested in technology, and their need to process all the information tossed their way keeps them upgrading and reinvesting. Before too long, our devices will be much more tightly integrated with our bodies, and will offload activities like memory and thought to external helpers. This magazine cover is from 2006, by the way. A concurrent trend will push a lot of this activity to the so-called cloud, and there'll be almost no physical presence of these parts of ourselves. With all our thoughts running on the same machines in the same networks, we'll easily be able to share memories, thoughts, and access to one another's brains and bodies. This will be awkward and dangerous, in addition to being revolutionary, but we've accepted lots of risks as a society in the pursuit of technological progress. As more and more of what we consider ourselves happens outside of our bodies, we'll value them less and less. A hangnail is composed of living cells, but we'll snip it off without thinking of it, because those cells are so insignificant as to mean nothing to us. Some of us may make that decision about our own bodies someday. The curse goes, may you live in interesting times. Periods like this, when the future of humanity seems to hang in the balance, happen all the time. But the point when technological progress seems to overwhelm the human capacity to keep pace makes it all the more fascinating, if difficult to take in. The changes in store for humanity don't need to be terrifying, despite our individual inability to affect the trends that affect us. Facing the future will take acceptance and resilience, but it will also be pretty exciting, regardless of what course history takes. Not everything about an apocalypse is destruction. No one knows what future awaits us, and presentations like this tend to look like flying cars and zeppelins in hindsight. But thinking through the possibilities can help us make choices that best represent our hopes for ourselves and our species. Thanks for listening.